we can move on here. Let's talk about another a game that's somewhere in the works. Let's talk about Avatar. No, not the blue people, because we don't talk about them blue people. Talking about Avatar: Last Airbender people. The Last Airbender, a new game is being developed by Saber Interactive and Paramount Game Studios, a new AAA action RPG that is apparently going to follow a brand new, never before seen Avatar in 1,000 years before the events of The Last Airbender. Interesting concept, interesting premise, action RPG. A lot of eyes have been on this news over the past, a week and change that it's been out. How do you feel about this?
I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool, but of course, we will see. Because IPs, if it's one of those, give me the IP, don't talk to me, I'm a cook, we're in for a treat. But if it's one of those, here's the IP, but we want some kind of creative control over this shit, I roll. I think with certain aspects, you just need to let people cook. Do I think that who owns the IP for Avatar at this point? Is it still Netflix, or is it still the creators?
I am not sure.
Like that's where the problem will be. It really, and and not to say that the developers can't fuck this up. We know they can, but the problem is that like when it comes to this kind of thing, it normally, when it gets fucked up, it's from the top down. It's usually not from like the bottom up. And that's my biggest concern, is like the top is gonna fuck this up. Now, if they leave them alone, then we may be in for some solid shit, But that really ultimately depends on how many cooks are in the kitchen.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, the premise fine. Still owned by Nickelodeon, I think, at this point in time.
Okay.
I am super intrigued, but I'm taking it to a different place. I like when people go in the same universe but not the same exact story. Give me something different. Interested to see what they build if they have their own world. If I can put some type of comparison or maybe an expectation on it, maybe not to the same scale of depth. Maybe not, I don't know. But again, I think of Hogwarts Legacy. Again, I know there's the controversy, fuck J.K. Rowling as always, but the game itself, that experience itself, had a lot of love and depth brought into it from a different viewpoint of the universe. It was before the time of Dumbledore and Harry and all that stuff. It was a time set separately where they had a space to work in and cook with some familiar concepts and things rolled in. Again, Hogwarts, the things that you usually know and love, but just in that different time frame, so they had more creative fluidity that they could work with and creative flexibility. So taking that to a different era for the Avatar game, I think that's smart. That's a very smart idea. Action RPG, you know what I'm saying? It makes sense, of course. It falls in line with that stuff. Interested to see where they start, what it would be. Is it going to be like, again, the air nomads? Is it going to be somebody in the old Earth Kingdom? I'm curious to see where they go. They can take this in a million different ways, but I need to see a trailer to be fully believing in this thing, first and foremost. But after that, I would say, again, the only comparable scale I have right now is it's Hogwarts Legacy. If you can have that standard of depth poured into the game, if you can have that respect for the material and create something that is not, it's not the same thing. It may have those ties through, whatever concepts that are there. Again, literally the world itself, the universe, blah, blah, blah. That and the gameplay has got to be fluid, man. I think the gameplay has got to be fluid. I wonder what action RPG now would, and the game flow would fit well with this. I don't know. That's kind of a harder ask. I mean,
the only thing I could think of would maybe something
again,
like, I think
it's gotta have that martial arts grounding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you could either go for something somewhat floaty, kind of like a Kingdom Hearts, but more grounded. And I wouldn't say like a true blue Kingdom Hearts. Like, I don't want to see fucking
somewhere.
I mean, you could probably do air combos forever, but it just wouldn't really fit that well. I think.
I feel like that needs to be a little bit more grounded, a little bit more. Not like, I wouldn't go so far as like Kingdom Hearts Devil May Cry of like, oh, you can just be in the air forever, dropping shit all day, all day, every day with the grading system. Nah, not that. And I don't want it to be like too. Like, again, I want the martial arts base to be there. I don't want it to be too rigid like a Sifu, where it's like it's all grounded and you can't get any air, because there's a lot of floatiness and mysticism that's involved in the world. So it's got to be a healthy balance in between, but I'm having a difficulty trying to find out where exactly it could fall in terms of the
I can think of something maybe similar to like something similar to like a Final Fantasy, maybe Final Fantasy 16. I haven't gotten
Yeah.
too far in the game though, so like
Yeah.
something
Honestly.
like that. But you also need to have a lot of strength in your bending. Like bending has to be the main core of it,
Yes.
because if you're just boxing, then it's not really Avatar, right?
Mhm.
And that's the biggest problem, is that like bending in and of its nature is still somewhat of a ranged fighting type
Yeah.
of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really where it comes down to. So I think maybe like if they could do something similar to like a
You-
Final Fantasy 16,
And
maybe.
you know what's funny? Games like Ghost of Tsushima, where you had the different stances that are available,
Yeah.
having each element as a stance or each element as a form, and then you have the respective skill trees that you can unlock. You have your base combos and stuff, and that look different but can have similar inputs, so you have that bit of variety in the presentation, but not necessarily the gameplay to complicate it. Having those different stances become different elements, and you learn them as you go along the journey. That could be a nice way to implement it there. So take that mechanic of the different stances on like the D-pad, you could switch freely and flow freely between them, and some of that gameplay that you're talking about in Final Fantasy 16, like that flow, that floatiness that still has a little bit of punch to it. That's a nice combination.
Yeah.
No, I hear it. That's not bad at all, but I will hold my hands up and say I will patiently wait for it. Am I optimistic about it? Not yet. We gonna figure it out. But yeah, listen, more Avatar games that have some love into them is something that I want to see.